And now it's time for our children's moment. But before we get to our lesson, I wanted to let all of our families out there know about an important event coming up this Saturday. We're going to have Bamel Young Families Day here on the Bamel campus Saturday, March 13th from 11 a.m. to 1. This is for the children's and youth ministry families. This will be an outdoor event with lunch provided and plenty of activities for the kids. This is a great opportunity to get together in this outdoor venue and be able to see each other again. We hope to see you there. Now for our lesson today, we're going to talk about this word. It's written right behind me. Can you read it? That word is serve, or another word for it, servant. Well, what does serve mean? Or what does it mean to be a servant? The word serve means like you could help someone. To serve somebody means you do whatever it is that they need, no matter what. You help with whatever is needed. A servant is someone who provides that help. Do you think God wants us to serve? Yes, he does. God tells us in the Bible, 1 Peter 4:10, that we should use whatever we have, whatever talents we have, to serve others. Now, what does that look like? How can you serve others? What does it look like to be a servant? I have some objects that are going to tie our Bible lesson together. I wonder if you can guess what our lesson is based on my objects. So first, I've got a towel. What would you use a towel for? Who uses a towel? And then I've got a crown. Who wears a crown? And my last object, I have some binoculars here. What do you use binoculars for? Well, you use them to see things. Let's see how these three objects can tie together and teach us how to serve. In the Bible, Jesus set an example for us on how to be a servant. He did something for his friends that showed us this is how you serve. I'm going to read it to you from the Jesus Storybook Bible published by Zonder Kids. The Servant King. It was Passover, the time when God's people remembered how God had rescued them from being slaves in Egypt. Every year they killed a lamb and ate it. The lamb died instead of us, they would say. But this Passover, God was getting ready for an even greater rescue. Jesus and his friends were having the Passover meal together in an upstairs room. But Jesus' friends were arguing. What about? They were arguing about stinky feet. Stinky feet? Yes, that's right, stinky feet. Now, the thing about feet back then was that people didn't wear shoes. They only wore sandals, which might not sound unusual, except that the streets in those days were dirty. And I don't just mean dusty dirty, I mean really stinky dirty. With all those cows and horses everywhere, you can imagine the stuff on the street that ended up on their feet. So anyway, somebody had to wash away the dirt, but it was a dreadful job. Who on earth would ever dream of volunteering to do it? Only the lowliest servant. I'm not the servant, Peter said. Nor am I, said Matthew. Quietly, Jesus got up from the table, took off his robe, picked up a basin of water, knelt down, and started to wash his friend's feet. You can't, Peter said. He didn't understand about Jesus being the servant king. If you don't let me wash away the dirt, Peter, Jesus said, you can't be close to me. Jesus knew that what people needed most was to be clean on the inside. All the dirt on their feet was nothing compared to the sin inside their hearts. Then wash me, Lord, Peter said, tears filling his eyes, all of me. One by one, Jesus washed everyone's feet. I am doing this because I love you, Jesus explained. Do this for each other. Wow, Jesus washed their feet? That was probably really gross and something nobody wanted to do, but he was a servant to them. Well, let's think about people. Let's think about our world, and let's just think about regular people. I have a chart back here, and at the top of my chart, it says most important. And then as we go down, it's the very, very least important. So think about like a king. Where would you put a king? Is a king important? Well, in our world, probably a king's probably pretty high up there. So I would put the king way up there. Or what about somebody who has a whole lot of money? Somebody who's got money or fame or power. Do you think that would be like an important person in our world? Probably. Somewhere like in the middle here, I guess. Or what about just a regular person like me or like you? So a regular person in our world and in our society, probably not as important as a king and probably not as important as somebody who has a lot of money, maybe like right here. But then where would you put a servant? Somebody who has to do the jobs nobody wants to do, no matter what. That's kind of like their job. They have to be a servant. Well, a servant doesn't have as much power as a king or as much power as somebody with a lot of money. Probably not as much power as even a regular person. A servant, I think, would probably go down here at the bottom. And yet, Jesus, when he washed their feet, he became a servant. Well, here our three objects come in. In the beginning, we talked about these objects, a towel and a crown. Well, who wears a crown? Kings wear crowns. And who would use a towel? Well, a servant washing feet would use a towel. So why is it important that Jesus was washing feet? Because Jesus is the king. Jesus is even more powerful than any king in this world. Jesus would be like way up, way above my chart. So even though Jesus was so high up here, he decided to not take that high position looking down on everyone. He said, I'm going to take the low position and I'm going to be a servant. I am going to help people in whatever way that they need. And I want you to do the same thing. But does Jesus want us to go around washing people's feet then? No, that would be kind of weird if we had to go around and wash each other's feet. When Jesus said that, he meant that he wants us to serve other people in whatever way that we can. So that's where my binoculars come into play. Because in order to be a servant, you have to look around and notice people. You have to notice what they need. You've got to keep your eyes open and pay attention so that when someone needs help, you can serve them. Now you might be thinking, I'm just a kid. There's no way I can serve. It's a really big world out there and there are so many needs. I'll just wait till I grow up. Or maybe you're thinking, I don't know the Bible well enough. Maybe if I knew my Bible better, then I could start to serve, because those are some big needs out there. Boys and girls, you can serve right now, right where you are, with whatever age that you are. It just means you've got to pay attention to what the needs are and see what you can do. Think about whenever we had that crazy winter storm, when it snowed and it looked beautiful, but it was kind of crazy a couple of weeks ago. Well, there were a lot of needs. So let's say at your house, if the power was out, would you be able to turn that power back on? No, as a kid, you can't turn the power back on. Would you have been able to fix any of the pipes that burst? No, you really can't do that either. So how could you have helped in that situation? Well, maybe you could have done a few extra chores so that mom and dad had extra time to focus on getting those other things fixed. Maybe you could have provided comfort for a younger brother or sister who was scared with all those changes that were happening. There are always ways that you can help if you pay attention. The last thing I want to tell you is something that a man said. Now, this doesn't come from the Bible. It comes from something that a man said, but I like what the words mean. Theodore Roosevelt said, do what you can with what you've got where you are. So I think he means that everyone can help no matter what, just using the skills and the talents that you've got right where you are. So this week, I want you to pay attention and find ways that you can serve each other. Because when you serve other people, you are also serving God. Have a great week. I'll see you again soon.